the Right Honorable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, and Mrs. Diana Fox Carney. Le très honorable Mark Carney, Premier ministre du Canada, et Madame Diana Fox Carney. Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, and Professor Dr. Heiko von der Leyen. Son Excellence, Madame Ursula von der Leyen, Présidente de la Commission européenne, et Professeur Dr. Heiko von der Leyen. His Excellency Antonio Costa, President of the European Council. Son Excellence Monsieur Antonio Costa, Président du Conseil européen.
I will, exactly. You know what, she might you do. She may come.
His Excellency Friedrich Merz, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, and Mrs. Charlotte Merz. Son Excellence Monsieur Friedrich Merz, Chancelier de la République fédérale d'Allemagne, et Madame Charlotte Merz.
During our football talk. This is my wife, Diana. Thank
His Excellency Shigeru Ishida, Prime Minister of Japan, and Mrs. Yoshiko Ishida. Son Excellence Monsieur Shigeru Ishida, Premier ministre du Japon, et Madame Yoshiko Ishida. Right Honorable Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Le très honorable Sir Keir Starmer, Premier ministre du Royaume-Uni de Grande-Bretagne et d'Irlande du Nord. Her Excellency Giorgia Meloni, President of the Council of Ministers of the Italian Republic. Son Excellence Madame Giorgia Meloni, Présidente du Conseil des ministres de la République italienne. Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. L'honorable Donald J. Trump, Président des États-Unis d'Amérique.
This is a big, I gotta introduce my wife Diana. You go over there, I'll put you in the middle. Okay, yeah. Not bad, not bad. Okay, perfect right up there. We got the fold down there, everybody. Just at 100% chance of rain. It's already 50. But they're saying 50 days of rain. Okay, that's good. You good? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Zach, if you come this way. Yeah. And then we'll step on forward.
On the bumper line to Boston, are you considering taking bumper buses to Israel first?
His Excellency Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic. Son Excellence Monsieur Emmanuel Macron, Président de la République française.
Monsieur le Président. Bienvenue. Tout va bien. Moi aussi. Mais tu en pris d'autres spaghettis ici, moi. Oui, j'ai une route très claire.
Mr. Pool number 2.
For the both of us, a history of colonialism, uranium mining, and Inuit resistance. Joan has the strength to protect the land and the caribou. I am inspired by Paningayatna and hope Inuit and indigenous peoples will show their resistance in what will be challenging days. Our rights are on the verge of being infringed by Bill C5. Let us be moved by Paningayatnak and do what we can to protect our lands. Thank you.
The honourable member for Honoré Mercier.
Highlight two examples of our country's cultural wealth. First, we started this month with Festa della Repubblica, the Italian National and Republic Day. I know many of my constituents celebrated on June 2nd, and I want to thank them for their active participation in the community of Rivière-des-Prairies and Anjou. You have been integral to making our society more dynamic. Happy Italian Heritage Month.
Secondly, I would like to highlight Quebec's upcoming national holiday. On June 24th, our community will host many activities to celebrate Quebec culture and the French language for Saint Jean-Baptiste Day. Together, let's be proud of our cultural diversity. Long live Honoré Mercier, long live Quebec, and long live Canada.
Honourable member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to share my condolences for the family and the victims of the fatal shooting in the Fleetwood neighborhood in BC this weekend. The victim, Shithwinder Sharma, was a father and a businessman from Abbotsford, British Columbia. What's even more appalling is that in less than 24 hours, the Sharma's untimely death, another Surrey home and business, Reflections Banquet Hall, was targeted and the owner, Satish Kumar, was shot. After there was no casualties, I am speaking on this issue because it is suspected that both shootings were linked to extortion. My thoughts and prayers are with the family of the Sharmas. Mr. Speaker, there was 2 shootings in 24 hours and 1 horrific casualty. When will the Liberals show remorse for the appalling soft on crime laws, repeal Bill C5, and adopt the Conservative plan to crack down extortion?
The honourable member for Egmont.
Of my district of Egmont is the willingness of islanders to work together. That collective approach has built vibrant communities, and people know they can rely on one another to succeed. In my home community, the Tignish Fisheries Cooperative is marking a 100-year anniversary. Keep in mind, this incredibly successful venture began during a time of wooden boats, sails, and oars. Today, it is electronics, fiberglass boats, efficient engines, and the best seafood products in the world. The threads that bind these two realities together, the hard work and determination of a community filled with talented and dedicated people. Now the Tignish Fisheries Cooperative employs 380 people, and it works wonderfully because thousands of individuals over the years believed in something greater than themselves. They had faith in their home. So from its early days as a fishermen's union to the best seafood processing in the world, this operation has been an incredible success. And I want to congratulate all those there now, thank those who came before.
The honourable member for Perth Wellington.
Mr. Speaker, for half a century, John Holtby lived and breathed parliamentary democracy. He began as first clerk assistant at Queen's Park, served at the table in the BC legislature, And here on Parliament Hill, he was Chief of Staff to the McGraw Committee and served as an advisor to Prime Ministers, House Leaders, Senators, and Whips. To new MPs, he was always there with a kind word of advice, a mischievous idea, and, when needed, a gentle word of caution. In this House, he is recognized as an authority as the editor of Beauchene's Parliamentary Rules and Forms, 6th edition. John was fond of the classic words of the Pilgrim's Progress. And if I could be so bold as to turn around those words, and so he passed over, and all the division bells rang to greet him on the other side. Rest well, dear friend.
The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Saturday, I participated in the launch of the G3E organization summer season with a fishing event for everyone at the Beauport River. For over 30 years, G3E has embodied civic engagement in the protection of aquatic environments in Quebec. This innovative organization has developed an extensive network and impactful programs. With scientific rigor and passion, G3E offers water education and monitoring tools based on the participation of more than 269 adopted rivers to date. These initiatives reach nearly 39,000 students and 35 community groups and have restored more than 409 kilometers of riverbanks and collected 270 tons of waste. G3E's approach combines openness, integrity, innovation and excellence, promoting openness to dialogue, respect for knowledge, and transparency in all actions. Thank you.
Member for Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, crime and drug use are getting worse in Canada. Law enforcement agencies in Ontario recently seized 1,000 pounds of cocaine and nearly 500,000 lethal doses of fentanyl. In my riding of Calgary McKnight, families can't sleep at night because they worry about their homes being invaded and their cars being stolen. Meanwhile, the Liberal Public Safety Minister doesn't even know his own government policies on firearms or drugs, and he's fine with releasing repeat violent criminals out into our streets. Canadians need real solutions to crime, to addiction, and to the broken liberal bail system. Our Conservative plan will ensure that repeat violent offenders are kept behind bars and that those battling addiction are given the proper care they need.
The honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate a local organization making a powerful impact through sport, the Southern Ontario Cricket Association, SOCA. Founded by Parveen Sharma and now led by Giri Banarvuri, SOCA began in 2019 with just 12 teams. Today, it's Canada's second largest cricket league, expanding to 78 teams. SOCA's heart lies in youth development. Their Little Champs Junior Club empowers children with the skills, the confidence, and the values of teamwork and leadership. Their rapid growth in women's cricket and plans for a winter indoor camp show commitment to equity and opportunity in sport. By introducing an over 40 men's league, SOCA is ensuring that cricket remains a game for all generations. Through cricket, SOCA is building more than athletes, they're building stronger, more inclusive communities. So please join me in celebrating Southern Ontario Cricket Association for their dedication and their impact through sport. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Midnapore.
The Honourable Charles James Mayer passed away on April 24th in Winnipeg. First elected to the House of Commons in 1979, he served as Minister of State for Grains and Oilseeds, Minister of Western Economic Diversification, and Minister of Agriculture. He was inducted in the Canadian Agriculture Hall of Fame in 2005. Charlie was also my husband's stepfather, and when I first met him in 2017, I was preparing to moderate the Conservative leadership debate. When I asked for his advice, he said, "You can use my cattle prod if you need to, Stephanie. That'll keep him in line." Charlie was kind, thoughtful, and humble to a fault. He was respected for his fierce intelligence, his humanity, compassion, and decency. He was a great Canadian, but remained until the end, like myself, a proud Westerner. He will be missed by his wife, Anita, children Holly, Cheryl, and Judy, and their families. Thank you. Merci.
The honourable member for Laurentides-Laval. Joining the ranks of some of the biggest names in gastronomy are Paul Bocuse and Sophie Pic Alain Ducasse. And these are our Quebec chefs who have just been awarded the prestigious stars by the Michelin Guide. On May 15th, 9 Quebec restaurants were honored. La Tanière, a Rio Quebec institution, made a big splash, earning 2 Michelin stars on its first attempt. RV, Quebec Club Privé, Laurie Raphael, Legende, Jérôme Ferrer Européa, Mastar, Sabayon, and Narval each earn 1 Michelin star. These coveted red plaques are much more than decorations. They are proof that our gastronomy, culinary creativity, and identity are on par with Paris, Tokyo, and New York. Quebec's restaurant industry is an economic flagship, a tourist attraction, and an ambassador for our culture. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga, Erin Mills.
Mr. Speaker, all of us in this House are here to support our constituents. Over the past 10 years, I've witnessed partisanship to the detriment of Canadians. So this summer, I challenge all members in this House, regardless of political affiliation, to stand up for Canadians by supporting small business. Small businesses across Canada continue to work hard and create jobs, whether it's traveling within Canada, whether it is shopping locally, choosing made-in-Canada products, having the power to invest in our economy and strengthen our economies. As Canadians, we've all felt the impact of U.S. tariffs. It's more important than ever now to choose Canadian whenever possible. I'll be doing just that as I head back to my riding this summer, and I encourage everyone to do so. Together, Mr. Speaker, we can ensure that Canadian businesses thrive, communities grow stronger, and our economy remains resilient as ever. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Liberal anti-development decade, Canadians pay the price. Today the G7 starts. Canada used to be powerful, but the Liberals are lucky we still have a seat at the table. Canada's economic growth is now last in the G7. Allies like Germany and Japan begged for Canadian energy, but the Liberals rejected them. $670 billion in natural resource projects died by delay and Liberal attacks. This PM claims elbows up, but they've been elbows down. Canada has the world's highest per capita resource wealth, but the Liberals made Canada more reliant on the U.S. Canada's standard of living falls behind an income gap of over $30,000 per person versus the U.S. The U.S. will still take up to 90% of Canada's energy at big discounts if the Liberals keep their job-killing Canadian oil and gas cap, the anti-development bill C-69, the shipping bill the shipping ban bill C-48, and the federal industrial carbon tax on Canadian businesses. In Canada, anyone from anywhere should be able to work for a powerful paycheck. Conservatives.
The Honourable Member for Brome-Missisquoi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great pleasure that I rise today to speak for the first time in this House. First, I'd like to thank the citizens of Brome-Missisquoi for the trust they've placed in me. I will be a hands-on member of Parliament, listening to their concerns, and this would not have been possible without the unwavering support of my campaign team, my volunteers, and my wife Sylvie, who has been an invaluable support. I would also like to point out that in Eastman we're currently celebrating International Trail Day by highlighting the Trans-Canada Trail, a true national treasure that connects Canada from coast to coast. Since 2019, tens of thousands of dollars have been invested in our trails in Brome-Missisquoi, and by 2026, we plan to invest $154,000 to improve access and enhance the experience. So I'd like to congratulate the local stakeholders who are working to preserve and improve this essential network, and I reiterate my support for this initiative here and across the country. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Kananaskis.
Last week, the Auditor General confirmed that without proper oversight, due process, or consideration, this government flagrantly ignored public procurement procedures and gave $64 million taxpayer dollars to unqualified insider consultants. In the Auditor General's own words, the government frequently failed to show, quote, which contracted resources performed the work, what work was completed, and whether the people doing the work had the required experience and qualifications, end quote. The Liberal governments of yesteryear, at the very least, put up a facade of public utility when giving lucrative government contracts to insiders. With GC strategies, that veil completely came off, Mr. Speaker. Unlike this government, the opposition respects the public purse and has a motion ready to go to get that money back. The only question is, will this Liberal government's hubris allow them to admit their mistake, take responsibility, and give it back?
Yeah.
The honourable member for West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize all those that put themselves in harm's way to fight the Dryden Creek wildfire in Squamish and keep the community safe. Despite dangerous conditions, thanks to the skill and determination of Fire Chief Aaron Foote, Squamish Fire Rescue, Whistler Fire Rescue, BC Wildlife Crews, Mayor Armin Herford, and the District of Squamish Emergency Operations Centre, and the Squamish Nation, the fire is now being held and the evacuation alert has been lifted. Beyond the fire lines, the community came together. Businesses offered help, students delivered meals, and neighbors supported one another, so much so that officials paused donations due to overwhelming generosity. Mr. Speaker, this wildfire, the third in Squamish this year, reminds us of the growing risks of climate change and the need to be prepared. We must all follow fire-smart guidelines and sign up for local emergency alerts. To everyone who fought the fire, supported neighbors, and stood together, you showed us what Squamish is truly made of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
To those who know what's at stake with a nuclear Iran, and to the Iranian people, remember who you are, not the hunted, the lion, not the silence, but the rising sun. The time has come, fierce in spirit and brilliant in purpose, to reclaim your homeland and fulfill the ancient promise of Cyrus and the legacy of civilization over barbarism. Let this be the hour when the prison doors close, tyranny falls, and freedom takes root. A free Iran, a proud nation restored, and with it, the hope for a more peaceful region led by its most resilient people. Do not let Canada's moral equivocation, a foreign minister speaking out of both sides of her mouth, embolden the regime. A regime that has crushed dissent, policed women's bodies, arrested without cause, executed at scale, erased gay rights, and terrorized a world for more than 40 years. The biggest state sponsor of terror killed 55 Canadians and 30 permanent residents. It has a former Liberal justice minister under 24-hour protection and intimidates our own people. So when next time the foreign minister speaks, I hope she remembers that.
The honourable member for Nipissing-Timiskaming.
This morning was held the 26th annual memorial service to recognize the parliamentarians we have lost over the past year. Included was Bob Wood, who represented the riding of Nipissing as a member of the Liberal Party for nearly 16 years, up until 2004. He passed away in North Bay a few months ago at the age of 85, and Anthony Rhoda succeeded him in the riding, now known as Nipissing-Timiskaming. Bob served as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Veteran Affairs, North Bay being a major Canadian Forces base with a strong NORAD presence. Bob was beloved by the citizens of the riding, and I doubt there are many MPs in this room who can boast of having topped every poll in 3 successive campaigns. While exuberant in his political and social presence, Bob Wood's legacy of kindness was private and personal, as he often offered that kindness when no one was looking. The people of Nipissing-Timiskaming, his colleagues in Parliament, and the citizens of Canada extend our deepest thanks to Bob.
That was a
and our
burn,
sympathy.
eh? Wow, what a burn on the speaking on both sides of your mouth.
Oral question. The honourable member for...
I'm not sure what comment it was. I have to look it up.
The Prime Minister is at the G7 today, surrounded by allies in the largest oil-producing province in the Federation. But thanks to the Liberal government, the oil and gas products they're demanding are still in the ground, and instead of powering our economy and Canadian paychecks. We've got laws blocking extraction, a cap that halts production, a shipping ban that stops it from leaving, and an industrial carbon tax that makes it all more expensive to build. Will the Liberals repeal our anti-energy laws and approve projects so that we can get jobs for our people and our resources to market?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Speaker, what this government will do is pass the One Canadian Economy Act to get the economy going again.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
I'm surprised the...
Here's the problem. As the G7 begins, the world may find out what Canadians have known for years. The Liberal laws still in place make it nearly impossible to get anything built. The Prime Minister's solution is not to fix the problem. Instead, he wants to give hall passes to the very few favoured VIPs to skip the line while everyone else waits. C-69, the emissions cap, the shipping ban, the industrial carbon tax, those are all still on the books. Everyone knows the laws are broken and we need to exempt projects for them. So why not just repeal the laws, period?
I'm surprised that
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Speaker,
Minister
my
Hodges is
honourable
actually
colleagues
there
should know
and not
is
in
that
Alberta.
The CEOs of the energy companies, the union workers,
He must be taking over as
the
2IC.
grid workers are all supporting the One Canadian Economy Act. So it would be really great if they got on board as well.
At least on the economic part. We'll see. Maybe
Leave
not.
it in the ground. Liberals keep blocking resource projects, giving more dollars to dictators. Radical Liberal policies are costing Canadian jobs and keeping our clean, responsible Canadian resources out of the hands of our allies. With the G7 now under the way, will this Prime Minister put aside his radical climate agenda to make sure that Canadian resources get into the hands of our allies?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, we've been clear, and I will repeat it once again. We are going to keep working to make sure Canada is an energy superpower. To do that, we need to be low risk, low cost, and low carbon. A strong Canadian economy. I hope the Conservatives will be able to help support us.
Yeah, the Conservatives of late have been the party system
Canada
loyal.
can't become energy independent until bad Liberal policies are repealed. The Prime Minister even admits that his own policies are what's not letting anything get built in this country. He even wants to give premiers veto over pipelines, ensuring that Americans get Canadian product at a fire sale price. With the world gathering in Alberta today, will the Prime Minister repeal his anti-energy laws so our allies can get more Canadian product? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Speaker, the answer is clear. If Canada wants to be an energy superpower, we need to do it in a smart way, and that is to make sure it's low risk, low cost, and low carbon. The Conservatives were unable to build anything because they didn't do environmental assessments, they didn't consult with Indigenous peoples. We're not going to follow the way they did things because that didn't get things done. We're going to get things done right.
L'honorable député de Louis.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Kananaskis. Mr. Speaker, we're receiving the G7 countries right now, and Canada is in last place when it comes to resource development. For 10 years, this Liberal government has been anti-energy and anti-natural resources. The disastrous Bill 69 gave the federal government the right to veto hydrogen and electricity. We would have never been able to develop Manic, James Bay, or Remain. When will the government repeal C-69? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr.
Well, that
Speaker,
was a little bit smarter.
I share
Better,
with
Gerard
my colleague,
Detal,
we
he's
went
one of the
through
best.
an election campaign together. We went through page 1 of our platform, and it indicated that we were going to pass a bill to have a single Canadian economy to make it easier to get major projects across the finish line. And that has the support of business, the unions, the premiers all across the country. Mr. Speaker, let's move the Canadian economy together. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Kananaskis. The Liberals have a short memory because they passed 4 anti-energy and anti-resource bills. There's not just C-69, there's C-48 in the shipping ban, there's the cap on oil and gas production, which is killing jobs, and the industrial carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, more than ever, people need more Canada. When will the minister make this possible? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, respecting the environment and Indigenous rights and procedures, that's what a responsible government does. But we do know that we need to proceed now to implement major projects, including projects in Quebec and in all provinces and territories. We're going to do that respectfully, but effectively and efficiently. We're going to get our workers to work. We're going to get our economy moving by the end of the year. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister thinks he's Pierre Poilievre. He wants to put a gag order on Bill C-5, which would allow him to decide everything on energy projects. He wants to be able to decide on his own, by order in council, which projects will go ahead in the national interest. He wants to be able to define what the national interest is himself, based on his own personal opinion. He wants to force pipelines on Quebec, and he wants to do this without debate or study. Even Pierre Poilievre would never have gone that far. Will the Prime Minister stop imitating him and withdraw the gag
This
order?
Christine Normandin MP is, she's always got the questions I agree with.
It's going to become a reality. One Canadian economy. Not only are we expecting the Bloc to support us, but we have Labour, we have management, we have the provinces, we have Quebec on board. This is a golden opportunity for the Bloc Québécois to build a strong Canada, a united Canada, an ambitious Canada, a prosperous Canada. That's what we're working on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. We'll always fight for Canada. The Honourable Member for Saint Jean.
It's about the debate. They shouldn't cancel the debate.
When the Conservatives want to ram a Liberal bill through Parliament using closure, when Danielle Smith supports the federal Liberals in Ottawa, that proves that C-5 is being controlled by the oil companies. Quebecers didn't vote Liberal to have conservative policies forced on them through closure and in the interests of oil companies and Danielle Smith. If Quebecers had wanted Pierre Poilievre, they would have voted for him. Why are the...
All right. Sorry, I paused it. I just would like the Bloc Québécois to be less effective. It's very unfortunate, but honestly, under this incarnation of the Bloc Québécois, their leader Blanchette said he's not going to discuss separation, but we are going to fight for Quebecers first. And at the same time, they make good points. I think they have a very good... not just this round, but they've had several years of very excellent. They know how to recruit very good, passionate, and just downright good political. They understand the politics a lot more. The Bloc Québécois. I wish it wasn't so, but I have to call it as I see it. They're outstanding politicians. And this one, Norman, it makes a lot of sense. She's basically saying, yeah, it's a conservative bill and it's for oil companies, and that I don't believe that they should cancel the debate on it. I think that's it, no matter which way it goes, no matter which way you lean politically, debate is what makes Canada better than many other countries, in my opinion. And the Bloc Québécois are the only ones bringing this forward. They're like the only ones really talking to the people and treating them like they like in the know, whereas a lot of the other parties are doing the retail politics. This to me is the real politics, and I
Liberals betraying Quebecers' trust. The Honourable Government House Leader. There were stakeholders from civil society, from business. And the Bloc is exaggerating here just a little bit, Mr. Speaker, because what we've done is brought together unions, business, provincial and territorial governments. We are going to implement green projects, renewable projects, projects that will put people to work and will move the Canadian economy forward. And all before Canada Day, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, Bill C-5 gives birth to the Conservative Liberal coalition serving the oil companies. After years saying the Liberals were the devil incarnate, suddenly the Conservatives are eating out of their hands. They're ready to pass Liberal bills. They're even ready to pass Liberal gag orders. They're prepared to do anything as long as it serves the oil patch, but not Quebec. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers didn't vote for this. Why? During the election campaign, did the Liberals hide it from Quebecers that they were going to form a coalition with the Conservatives?
That's a pretty good question as well. Those two, this guy's new to me. They've been doing a pretty good job of questions. And I hope they get a clear, concise reply.
Member withdraw the word he used.
Oh, what
a
did
word
he
that
use?
we don't use in the House.
What word
so
did he
we
use?
can get to the main idea.
It was a translation.
He said the opposite of the truth. I'd like to thank the member. The government House Leader. You see, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, lie. Lie, they said.
They haven't even read page 1 of our platform.
No.
And we spent 35 days on the hustings talking about getting the economy going and making this country one single economy that would be able to do big things, that would advance Quebec, advance Canada, advance green energy, advance all of our workers. The Quebecers did vote for that. The Bloc is
MP
wrong
McKinnon
about
is
that.
good. He makes it confusing, any answer. That's good politics.
Revealed that GC Strategies, a Liberal insider company, was paid a whopping $64.5 million tax dollars by the Liberal government to do literally nothing. Think about how Canadians struggling to make ends meet feel about having to pay massive taxes just to enrich Liberal insiders. It's like reverse Robin Hood. Will the Liberals support our motion to get Canadians' money back from these scammers, or will they keep robbing Canadians to pay their friends?
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and let me be absolutely clear, we will never tolerate any misbehavior or misconduct from our suppliers or their subcontractors. We've taken legal actions against GC Strategies. We've referred cases to the RCMP because we will always defend the integrity of our procurement system. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Not only are the Liberals tolerating this behavior, they're promoting the people who oversaw it. In the normal world, somebody who would have overseen $65 million going to scammers would have been fired, but instead, these ministers have been promoted. And today we found out that these ministers want to give even more money to consultants to manage web pages. Why is it with these Liberals, incompetent politicians get promoted while Canadian taxpayers get stuck with the bill?
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I've mentioned time and time again last week, we will always defend the integrity of our procurement system, and we will always hold bad actors to account, which is why, Mr. Speaker, of the company she's mentioned, we've revoked its security clearance. We've terminated all contracts more than a year ago. We've put in place the Office of Supplier Integrity, which has barred GC Strategies from contracting with the government for 7 years. We've taken legal actions against the company. We've referred cases to the RCMP. We will always hold responsible suppliers and their subcontractors who misconduct. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General confirmed GC Strategies, a two-person company, got $64 million from the Liberals, often without competitive bidding. In nearly half the contracts, there's no proof of even any work being done. In 82% of cases, departments didn't check if taxpayers were overpaying, and in 50% contracts, security clearances were not properly enforced, including departments like Global Affairs and National Defence. A total collapse of basic oversight, but taxpayers are still forced to pay, while Liberal insiders get rich. Will every member in this House vote to get Canadians their money back?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we will never tolerate misconduct from our suppliers or their subcontractors. We've taken legal actions against GC Strategies. We've referred cases to the RCMP, Mr. Speaker, because we will never tolerate misconduct from our suppliers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
That's right, Mr. Speaker. GC Strategies is under RCMP investigation. The Auditor General exposed millions paid without proof of work, without oversight, and without security rules being followed. And the ministers responsible? They didn't get fired. They got promoted, rewarded by this Prime Minister. Only with Liberals do you fail upwards. Collect promotions for incompetence and leave the taxpayer on the hook. Same scandals, same ministers. Why is Liberal corruption always rewarded while Canadians get the bill?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. As I've repeatedly said last week, we will never tolerate any misconduct from our suppliers. That's why we have sued the company. We have referred this to the RCMP. We have cooperated with the Auditor General. We will always defend the integrity of our procurement system in Canada.
Leamington.
through questioning Liberal ministers last week, we know that they had no clue why $64 million was paid to GC Strategies for work not done. The Auditor General found the following. Security requirements were not enforced, contract monitoring policies were ignored, procurement policies were not followed, and deliverables were not confirmed before payment. Liberal ministers responsible for this fraud, they're promoted upwards. Mr. Speaker, why? After cheap talk of this government, saying that's the old government, when will the new government vote in favour of getting Canadians their money back?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the aisle, we'll always defend the integrity of our procurement system, which is why we've put in place recommendations from previous report of the Auditor General. We've terminated all contracts with GC Strategies more than a year ago. We've revoked their security clearance. We've set up the Office of Supplier Integrity, which has barred GC Strategies from contracting with the government for the next 7 years. We've referred cases to the RCMP, and we've taken legal actions against GC Strategies. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because we will never tolerate bad actors in our supplyment process. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public funds have to be managed very carefully and should serve the interests of our country, not Liberal cronies. In Quebec, there's an expression for an abuse of power and the code of silence used to protect insiders. A friend is a friend. Will the Liberal ministers of the past 10 years ask their buddies at GC Strategies to repay the $64 million paid by law-abiding Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I reject the premise of my colleague's question. We will never tolerate abuse by our suppliers. That's why we've taken legal action against GC Strategies and referred this matter to the RCMP, because we will always defend the integrity of our procurement system. The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Let's talk about integrity. We Conservatives today tabled a motion calling, among other things, for the $64 million that was paid in excess to GC Strategies to be, without any work done, to be paid back to Canadians. Will the Liberal ministers of the past 10 years who approved this payoff to their cronies, will they finally show today some integrity by supporting our motion to force a refund and ban that company, not for 7 years, but for life? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to remind my colleague that the Office of Supplier Integrity operates at arm's length, and they decided to ban GC Strategies for the next 7 years. But we had already taken action. We will never tolerate any misconduct by our suppliers. We've taken legal action against GC Strategies. We referred the matter to the RCMP, and we cancelled all contracts more than a year ago and revoked their security clearance, because we will always defend the integrity of our procurement system. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, the government is not only preventing debate on C5 in the House, they're also gagging all opposition outside the House in the name of the so-called national interest. They're silencing anyone who questions the construction of dirty oil pipelines across our lakes and rivers, including the St. Lawrence, threatening our drinking water. They're silencing anyone who's concerned about our farmland and our forests. They're silencing the entire population, the National Assembly and the BAP. How is it that for the federal government, building Canada always weakens Quebec? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, we invite our colleagues to join with us in building a strong Canada. Quebec has a major role to play in that. Quebec is a leader on electricity, on the environment, on interprovincial trade. Mr. Speaker, this is a golden opportunity for the Bloc Québécois to vote in favour of Quebec and at the same time build a strong, resilient and prosperous Canada. The unions are in favour, workers, management, the House should be in favour too. This is how you build a country. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Well, one thing's for sure, Mr. Speaker, the national interest of the Liberals is certainly not the interest of our planet or future generations. In less than 3 weeks, we've gone from transportation electrification to drill, baby, drill. The Prime Minister has gone from his Canada Strong against Donald Trump to move aside Quebec and make way for some pipelines. All this without debate, without serious study, and without expert witnesses to explain the implications of C5. Clearly, the Prime Minister does not respect our work here. He proves it with his gag order. When will he finally get it that we live in a democracy here? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, we agree that the environment needs to be protected, but the economy can be supported at the same time. It would be nice if the Bloc could support us in doing exactly what Quebecers and Canadians have called on us to do. They elected a Liberal government to ensure that, yes, we can be an economic superpower, but at the same time, we can take care of the environment.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Housing Minister says he doesn't want house prices to go down. While everyday Canadians are priced out of a home, he says he's focused on protecting people's assets. Well, now we know why. From his Vancouver penthouse, this minister is sitting atop a personal real estate empire worth over $10 million, including luxury properties in Tofino, Squamish, and English Bay. Why is it the only thing getting built under this housing minister is his personal fortune?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll caution the member on using inaccurate facts. I will be following all the rules, even before they are required, and these are some of the rules that the Conservatives themselves brought in under Prime Minister Harper. We will work with the Office of the Ethics Commissioner to ensure transparency, and I will continue to demonstrate integrity in my role as Minister. My focus is on getting more affordable housing built across Canada.
The Honourable Member for Newtecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Liberals are just like Adams. They make up everything. More Canadians than ever are watching the dream of homeownership slip further out of reach. But this housing minister isn't focused on solving the housing crisis because he's profiting from it. The average home in Canada now costs $680,000, $1.2 million in Vancouver. Rents and mortgages doubled, housing starts are down, so why is the minister more interested in protecting his real estate empire than ensuring Canadians can afford a home?
I like this MP. When he actually got in the water for a question, it was good. And it's got pretty tough questions.
Settle down.
We got to settle down. Because Davidson, he's really good. He's actually one of the better MPs.
I thought we wanted to finish question period on time.
Conservatives for question period.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Housing, indeed all ministers and members of this House, live under some of the most stringent ethical requirements that require disclosure and transparency. As that member knows very well, the Minister of Housing is obviously complying with all of those rules, will continue to do so, and at the same time, he will continue working on providing housing opportunities for Canadians. That's why he's there. That's what he's going to do.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
You'll have to excuse us if we don't take the party that's been known for serial ethical lawbreaking at their word when the Minister of Housing, who said that house prices don't need to come down, is sitting in a $2 million penthouse on a multi-million-dollar real estate fortune while he's telling Canadians that they're okay to just stay in their parents' basements. Canadians want to know why this minister wasn't transparent, didn't answer the question in Committee of the Whole, didn't answer the question when the member previously asked, and we don't think that he answered it honestly when he gave an answer to the Ethics Commissioner. Why won't this minister come clean and tell Canadians the truth?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the minister quite literally just gave the answer on the floor of this House. That member knows, as do his colleagues, that we live under ethical guidelines that are among the most stringent in the world. They govern all the members of this House. That minister is in full compliance with all of the rules. That member knows better.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
He's in compliance with his multi-million-dollar real estate empire. That's the only thing he's in compliance with while people are living in tent cities. This minister has said the housing market is working just fine. This from a real estate tycoon. While he has a $2.4 million penthouse in Vancouver, a $5.6 million lakefront property, and a $3 million estate in Tofino. You think housing prices are going to go down? No way! It's not in his financial interest for them to go down. How can anyone believe this minister will do anything for housing when it's in his vested interest to keep his real estate portfolio high and Canadians intense?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
The minister is literally spending day and night, 7 days a week at creating opportunities in housing for Canadians, while at the same time being in full compliance with the strictest ethical obligations faced by public office holders in the world, Mr. Speaker. You know that. Those members know that. We are in full compliance. That will continue to be the case.
The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud-Rivière-du-Loup, Kataskamik-Témiscouata. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal Housing Minister has said that house prices don't need to go down. Not surprising when you know that he's sitting on $10 million in real estate. He has a $3 million home in Tofino, another $5.6 million home in Squamish, and a luxury penthouse in Vancouver. Meanwhile, in Quebec, young people are stuck in their parents' basements. They're not able to buy a home. They're not able to rent a home. Why is the minister from up in his luxury penthouse telling young Quebecers that the price of homes doesn't need to go down? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the member knows very, very well that not only has this Minister of Housing been working day and night to create housing opportunities for all Canadians, but he also knows that he has totally complied with our ethics regime. It's one of the most strict ethics regimes in the world. He's completely in compliance with the Ethics Commissioner. The Ethics Code covers transparency, and that's what the minister has followed.
The Honourable Member for Labrador.
Mr. Speaker, our new government recently introduced the One Canadian Economy Act, intended to tear down internal barriers to trade, cut red tape, and get nation-building projects off the ground. While it is true that the bill is critical to help grow our economy, Indigenous communities' individual rights must be respected throughout the process. Can the Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs outline how the Indigenous partners will be consulted and how these communities will benefit from this bill? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the member of Labrador for his important question. As a First Nations rights holder as well, I want to acknowledge the concerns raised by Indigenous leaders across this country. Their voices matter. That's why we're investing in real consultation with $40 million to support Indigenous engagement, in addition to establishing an Indigenous Advisory Council. This legislation will be an economic game changer for Indigenous people like never before.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals-owned housing agency's latest numbers on housing starts are out, and they are bad, particularly in cities that receive money from their Housing Accelerator Fund. For example, Vancouver, they got $115 million. Starts are down 10%. Kelowna got $31.5 million. Starts are down 33%. On May 13th, the latest housing minister claimed that he wanted to build on the housing successes of the last few years. What success? When will the Liberals learn that bureaucrats don't actually build houses?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member opposite will know, there are monthly fluctuations to the housing starts across Canada. That's right. And there's really good news in the CMHC report, Mr. Speaker. We are on an annual pace of almost 280,000 housing starts this year, which is almost a record. And we won't stop there, Mr. Speaker. We are focused on doubling housing starts in this country over this next decade, and we will stick to that goal.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Well, it doesn't just stop there. Hamilton got $93.5 million. Housing starts there are down 50%. Toronto got $471 million. They're down 58% there. Guelph got $21.4 million, and housing starts there are down over a whopping 78%.
Whoa.
Yet the Liberal plan is to continue spending on city bureaucracies, and now they want to build a third federal housing bureaucracy. When will this government learn that repeating their same mistakes and expecting a different result is not going to solve what is quickly becoming a housing catastrophe?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's no doubt that we have challenges with housing across the country on affordability. The good news is that we are seeing near record level housing starts this year. You can cherry pick month to month stats. This year, 280,000 starts is the pace that we're on right now, and we need to go farther and faster. That's why we're delivering on development cost charge reductions that will bring down the cost of housing, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, the housing crisis is only getting worse, and the Liberals' failing programs are not helping. The Liberals' so-called Housing Accelerator Fund is spending more but building less. The Liberals' own numbers show that Kelowna will receive $31.5 million in taxpayer dollars, even though housing starts there are down 33.6%.
That's not very good.
Will the Liberals abandon their failing housing programs and build homes, not more bureaucracy?
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I will just direct the member opposite to talk with the Kelowna Mayor and Council about what they think about the Housing Accelerator program, which mayors, hundreds of mayors and councils across the country have asked their own members of Parliament on the Conservative side to support, because they want this program, they want support to scale the housing that they build in their communities, and we will be there to support them.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' own housing agency continues that $74 million from the Housing Accelerator Fund. Housing starts in London are actually down by a whopping 72%.
Oh.
Meanwhile, students and young families are still being priced out of the market with little hope of ever owning their own home. The Prime Minister promised to get the government into the business of building homes, not building more bureaucracy. When will the Liberals finally recognize that the red tape is the problem, not the solution, and reverse these policies that are keeping young Canadians in their parents' basement?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, well, I hope that the member opposite is supportive of the work that we're doing here to give first-time home buyers, young Canadians, an opportunity, discounting their purchase price by up to $50,000.
Wow.
The GST relief. It's a significant effort, along with the tax cut for 22 million Canadians that makes life more affordable, enables them to access housing, and we will not stop there, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Only this Liberal government could spend more taxpayer money and deliver less. Their so-called Housing Accelerator Fund gave the City of Toronto $471 million. And what did Canadians get in return? According to this Liberal government's own housing agency, Toronto's housing starts dropped a whopping 58% compared to last year. This is a classic example of Liberal-style failure. They spend taxpayer money, grab a nice photo op, and then walk away while fewer homes are built. Will this housing minister finally admit that this Liberal bureaucracy fails to build homes while the next generation of Canadians fall further behind?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I want to speak strongly in support of the Housing Accelerator program, which has over 200 agreements with communities across Canada. The members opposite can keep criticizing and insulting their city councils and mayors. They are going to deliver on this housing. Month-to-month statistics fluctuate, but overall we're seeing housing starts up this year, which is great, and we're seeing local communities deliver. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Ponoka Didsbury.
This week, leaders of the G7 gather in Kananaskis. Top of mind at this summit is international peace and security. Canadian energy is a key part of this conversation. Our G7 allies, such as Germany and Japan, have spent years asking for ethically sourced Canadian oil and gas. Yet this same Liberal government has stymied our allies for 10 years. When will they get out of the way and approve the energy infrastructure that Canadians and our allies so desperately need.
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, at the First Minister's meeting, the Prime Minister, the Premiers got together and thought the One Canadian Economy Act was a great idea. Managements think it's a great idea. Labour unions think it's a great idea. It would be very helpful if the Conservatives got on board and helped us get this bill passed.
The Honourable Member for Ponoka-Didsbury.
After 10 years of economic vandalism by these Liberals, Albertans want the walk to match the talk. It's been 3 months since the start of the campaign, 4 weeks since the throne speech, weeks since the meeting with the premiers and businesses, and yet the No More Pipelines bill, the tanker ban, the production camp, and the industrial carbon tax all still remain, and not a single oil and gas project has been announced. So when does the talk become the walk, or is this all just more Liberal squawk?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural
My
Resources.
honourable colleagues will get an opportunity later this week to put their money where their mouth is and vote for this bill.
The Honourable Member for Sudbury East, Manitoulin Nickel Belt.
After 10 years of Liberals, Canada's pipelines are more clogged than a kitchen sink. Thanks to anti-energy laws like C-69, the No New Pipeline Law, the job-killing production cap, and the industrial carbon tax. Our energy industry is struggling. Investment has fled, and companies won't build under these conditions. Will the Prime Minister finally scrap this anti-energy agenda so we can sell to our allies and bring home bigger Canadian paychecks?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
When Canadians elected this Liberal government, what they asked for was for us to be able to build a strong, united country. What I hear from the opposition is division. That's not what Canadians want. What we saw when the premiers and the Prime Minister sat down together was how we're going to build together. I hope that they're going to support our Build Canada Act so that we can actually get the job done.
Let's go.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. 10 years of Liberal lethargy, 10 long years with Canada on the sidelines, even as the entire world has looked to us for our natural resources. A lost decade where the Liberals have turned their backs on our allies and put in place the most anti-development environmental laws of any G7 country. An anti-pipeline law, a cap on oil production, a ban on marine shipping. The G7 is meeting in Canada, in Alberta this week. Will the Prime Minister get rid of these bad bills that are making Canada's poorer and approve projects that will put more money in their pockets? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, when the Canadians elected us, when they elected this Liberal government, what they wanted to see was us build together a strong country and a strong economy, and that's exactly what we're doing. So, we are building to be an energy superpower that is low cost, low risk, and low carbon. I would ask the Conservatives, will they support our bill to make sure that we can move forward with these projects?
The Honourable Member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, more than ever, Canadians are feeling a deep sense of pride in who we are. We're united by our shared history, rich cultures, and breathtaking landscapes. In my riding of Halifax, we have Citadel Hill National Historic Site, which stands as a powerful symbol of our past. And Nova Scotia has 3 world-renowned gems in Sable Island, Kejimkujik, and Cape Breton Highlands National Parks. Could the Minister tell us what our new government is doing to reinforce our national pride and to encourage Canadians to discover all the incredible places that make Canada so special?
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank the member for Halifax for her excellent question. There is no better time to choose Canada which is why today we unveiled the new Canada Strong Pass, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
All summer long, admission is free for national parks, historic sites with major discounts on camping as well.
That's free.
And what's more, kid gets to free access to national museums and gallery and free or discounted fares on Via Rail.
Amazing.
We're encouraging peoples of all age to explore the places and story that unite us from coast to coast to coast. With the Canada Strong Pass, it's never been easier to get out and discover the best country in the world, Canada.
The honourable member for Cloverdale-Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, I attended the Public Safety Forum in Surrey this weekend, and I have to say, I felt like we were living in a violent video game. Reflections Banquet Hall shot up. Hub Insurance shot up. Strip Mall shot up. And now in Fleetwood, an honest businessman has been gunned down in his office in broad daylight, possibly tied to extortion. The message from these criminals is clear. Pay up or your family will pay the price. And what's the government doing? Wasting hundreds of millions going after licensed gun owners while gangsters roam free. Will the Liberals commit to protect Canadians from violent extortionists?
That's right.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, first off, I had the chance to meet with the Mayor of Surrey just recently and talk to her about the concerns in her community, as well as many of the members that represent Surrey that are in the House today. Extortionists must be held to account for their crimes. We will act decisively to strengthen the criminal code and move aggressively to protect victims by making bail laws stricter for violent and organized criminals. Extortion with a firearm carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, Mr. Speaker. We will always be there to keep Canadians safe.
The honourable member for Cloverdale-Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, extortion is up 357%, and those are the ones we know about. In Surrey, criminals are shooting up businesses and bragging about it online because they know they won't face serious jail time. People are terrified, and these gangsters are running the show. They actually made it. What did the Liberals do? They voted against mandatory minimums for extortion. They made it easier for violent criminals to get back on the street. Will this government support the common-sense Conservative plan to crack down on violent extortionists, or will they keep putting criminals ahead of Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, in case anyone is mistaken in this House, extortion is illegal in Canada. It is punishable by serious offences. Repeated extortion with a firearm is punishable by a mandatory minimum of 7 years imprisonment and a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. The criminal code reflects the seriousness with which we take this crime. We will do what it takes not only to punish criminals on the back end, but to give law enforcement the tools they need to prevent it in the first place. I hope the Conservatives will be willing to work with us to advance the reforms that will help keep communities safe.
The honourable member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, Peel Regional Police busted an extortion ring. Unfortunately, of the 18 arrested, almost half were on a form of a judicial release at the time of arrest. Under this Liberal government, extortion cases are up by almost 400%. Bill C-381, introduced by Conservatives, would have given law enforcement the tools they required to go after extortionists. When these Liberals will stand with hardworking families and their safety? Will the Liberals adopt our Conservative plan to crack down on violent extortion?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker. The fact of the matter is, this new Prime Minister, new MPs like me, and this new government take this incredibly seriously. The fact of the matter is we're hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel, 1,000 new CBSA members to go after the bad guys, and I hope that member and those members on the side of the House will support us in the Strong Borders Act. Thank you.
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of this Liberal government, risen by 357%, and Canadians are living in genuine fear for their lives. One of my constituents recently received a video from a perpetrator threatening to murder their children. People's lives are at stake, and this cannot go any longer. We need to restore mandatory minimum penalties on extortion. Will the Liberal Prime Minister adopt Bill C-381 to crack down on violent extortion?
The Honourable Minister Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, as I shared a moment ago, extortion is illegal in this country. Perpetrators should be apprehended and punished. If the member does not believe that extortion is punishable by serious offenses, I would point him to the fact that repeated violent extortion with a firearm is punishable by a minimum of 7 years imprisonment, a maximum penalty of life imprisonment, Mr. Speaker. This reflects the seriousness with which this government takes this very serious crime. But it's important we not only punish wrongdoers on the back end, but we invest in law enforcement to give the tools they need to keep communities safe in the first place. I hope that the members opposite will join us as we advance important reforms to protect Canadians.
The honourable member for Brampton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, every day law enforcement officers from across Canada work tirelessly to ensure that our communities are kept safe from crime. At the same time, organized criminals are taking advantage of new technologies to evade the police. Can the Minister of Public Safety inform this House how the Strong Borders Act is modernizing the tools law enforcement uses in their fight against organized crime?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank the honourable member for Brampton Centre for her question and her hard work. Just this morning, Mr. Speaker, Peel Regional Police dealt a major blow to organized crime, arresting 18 individuals on nearly 100 charges related to auto theft, extortion and shootings. And I want to thank the hardworking men and women of Peel Regional Police for this important work that they have done. Through the Strong Borders Act, we are looking to replicate the success of Peel Police. We will provide law enforcement with the tools they need to take down organized crime and keep our communities safe.
I believe members may want to use their earpieces for this question, which will be in Inuktitut. The honourable member for Nunavut.
Mr. Speaker, Mosi is a single mom in Taluktua. Her monthly income is less than $1,100. The Inuit Child First initiative helped to feed her children every day. The Liberals canceled the Hamlet food voucher program. Groceries in the north are not affordable. Will the minister reinstate the Hamlet food voucher program so Inuit can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's public knowledge that Nutrition North is undergoing an external review. And we also have an internal review underway. We're committed to building on the positive steps already taken, like the Food Harvesters Program and the Community Kitchen Program, to ensure that northern communities benefit fully from these types of initiatives. Thank you.
And that concludes the question period. Je crois que l'honorable député de Saint...
I think that the honourable member for Saint Jean has a point of order. Thank you very much, Mr.
Pooh! Pooh!
QP asked my colleague from Repentigny to withdraw remarks they thought that were non-parliamentary. These statements referred to events that took place outside of the House. I'm wondering if it's possible to clarify if the extension of what is considered parliamentary remarks can refer to what is happening outside of the chamber.
They were used.
Ooh, what did he say? I'm glad that the NDP member spoke
I'd like to underscore to the member for Saint Jean that regardless of the reference, the term was said in the chamber, so that is not parliamentary language. Yes, they withdrew it, I believe. I think I heard them withdraw it.
Yes,
I didn't hear what they said. Another poo.
The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. During question period, members of the Liberal caucus kept providing disinformation about the fact that they're upholding Section 35 rights. It's not true, and I'd like them to apologize.
This is
Leia is she's a freewheeler.
We will now...
Guzan. MP
It
Guzan.
being 3:06, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Barrett relating to the business of supply. Call in the members.
Okay. There you have it, folks. There is question period. Oops. They basically, that's what we got. That's it, you know. She did a good, that was a good ending, had a couple points of order. You always got to have some points of order. It is a little bit always out of order. I think points of order, the NDP should be utilizing the points of order because they're not getting many questions, so they can do the finger wag. But I think the NDP got the first star for not speaking English or French, the third language. And I think the Bloc again, the Bloc got, I don't know if it was Patrick Baudin or MP Christine Normandin. I always think of the Normans, you know, the Normans that came over England. When I see her name, I see castles and rich things. I don't think that's her, but I'm sorry. It's just the only time I've ever seen that name besides, you know, the Plantagenets kind of thing, you know, Kings. As I ramble on this, and the third star, MP Davidson. Maybe, yeah, third star, second star, whatever. One of the stars, MP Davidson with his housing minister, because he was the first one to ask it, and many others asked it as well. So I'll put them all in brackets. But Davidson did his first, I don't know, I guess his first foray in question period. He had a question about the bay in his area, I think Simcoe Bay. And he put his hip waders on, got in the water, because it was they were allowed to do that. It was like kind of pandemic time. So and it was cold water. You know, he got in the cold water and he asked a question, and he was yelling at the camera. You know, he really yelled at it, I think, because the water was so cold. He had that extra energy. And I don't know, he got his point across very well. I thought he did a good job doing a little bit of spectacle. And it was it was a partisan issue, nonpartisan issue, so. You know, the little bit of spectacle, I think, is more acceptable because it wasn't attacking necessarily the Liberals. It was attacking the government bureaucracy as a whole for not keeping Canada clean. And especially, you know, that's an almost unconservative thing to worry about. But it's something that 95% of Canadians completely agree with. When Trump said, you know, I'm for the environment. I want clean water. I want clean air. I want clean land. Everyone, there's no one who can argue with that. And it's basically the most simplest way of thinking of environmentalism. It's like we want clean. We want it clean. We don't want filthy this. And don't bring money into your equation or this and that. That doesn't work. Or the chance of the world coming to an end, the fear factor. It may work on some, but I think if you want to get to the 80%, Trump nailed it. We want clean water. We want clean air. We want clean soil. That's it, right? Simple. And there's no argument to go there, and everyone has felt it before, you know, the acid rain thing if you're old enough. But you've walked in and you're like, oh, that's dirty. Even if it wasn't polluted, you've seen something that, like, a couple drops of oil on top, you're like, oh, that's polluted, and no one likes to see that, right? So it's definitely one of these things that would work, and the minister did it, and so. But they mentioned how the housing minister, like I said, he's got the toughest job, and he's got no answers. There's no answer he can really give because I guess the housing starts, they say, are up. We'll see if the builds are up at the end of the year. I thought they were down. Every number I looked at, they were down. Maybe this month somehow they're up. That's permits starts. We'll see. I'm going to check it out myself. So it's very difficult to believe them either side right at face value. Because, like I said, I just had seen it that the housing is down, and they're not going to make they're not going to make the 500,000 permits this year. That they're shooting for. I personally believe that it's not enough to this program. I do believe that Carney will tack when he has to, but he'll have to be forced to. Like many politicians, And I think he's got some qualities. He's done some good things, but his biggest flaw, I believe, is he doesn't believe in giving to the working class in any shape, way, or form. I think if you have that thinking, don't give to the working class, fine, but make sure education is easier to get. And right now, the education is outrageously expensive when it doesn't need to be. Online could have eliminated 95% of the costs to disseminate, Bachelor of Arts. Like, I know a lot of people. They took a Bachelor of Arts. So one girl, she's like third year. She took the cap. It was like third year, not the end terms. Like 3/4 of the way in, major test. So she's done 3/4 of the way, and it was like African capitals. I'm like, what? That's it? Like we were on like grade 7. You know what I mean? Like, my school wasn't like, it wasn't a private school, right? Like, we had one good teacher, but it's just like, what? What do you mean? The capitals of African capitals? That's the test? You've gone to school for 3 months on this one class, and that's what they're testing. Like, I couldn't believe this. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? Like, and you're going to be arrogant to me because I'm a plumber? I just really, really am appalled a little bit. Yeah, they learned a lot of other things. Fertile Crescent and stuff like this. An interested individual knows this stuff anyway. Like, I'm a highly interested person in everything, Not much of other social life besides studying. But I think, but it doesn't matter how much I know, how much useless information I know. It matters if I have that little a little stamp that says I went to this university. That I think we should have a University of Canada, an online university where the testing, you have to go into the college or university near you to do the testing, and they do quite a bit. They should make you go in for quite a bit of the testing. You know what I mean? Like, write an essay and it's in front of somebody. Do all kinds of testing in front of somebody to make sure, to make sure it's a system, and make sure there's really Canadians that are doing it. You got to show your ID and all that stuff. I think that we should be really doing that only for Canadians, no one else, obviously, and offering that to more, so more Canadians can start on the education trail to of a higher education. But it doesn't seem to be a thing. So, like I said, the flaw of most politicians is giving to the working class. Which I said, like, the education is like, okay, now we're on the same par. We're on the same bar here, Higher educated Canadians is better, right? We can work around the world and stuff like that. But there's no talk of doing that. The housing is not, it's giving money to rich people. And wealthy, the companies, the $25 billion to the prefabricated companies isn't I think that's pretty good. I do think, but they are rich. They're already rich people. If you own the company, you're already wealthy. You're already doing good. There's lots of work for them, right? Giving the $25 billion, I think, is good, but there's nothing to give to someone who's like a small-time builder to start building homes. They don't. No. I have to have a white collar, but for anyone to give government money and any policy, and then this other part of the plan of the housing. That it's a more bureaucratic red tape. I think the fix for this bureaucracy will possibly, maybe not, fix the next housing crisis in 20, 30 years. But I don't have any faith it actually can be set up to fix this housing crisis. First of all, it won't be stocked with builders, with people who build. It'll be stocked with white-collar folks. And they'll come up with all these hairy-fairy ideas, and really all it is they needed to create a second market so we don't destroy the housing market, but a secondary market for first-time home buyers. What's that? Wood buildings. I need to issue out the plans so there's no white-collar slowdown. It's an automatically approved building permit through the government, right? Through the federal government, have like 5 sets of plans. If you do any of these buildings, these 5 types of building in Canada, you're automatically approved. The engineer drawings are approved by federal government. Done. None of this, well, okay, and everyone builds a different build, and you know what I mean. and then try to shrink the economies of scale by making these 5 different type of buildings out of the same material, by discussing it with the large Canadian companies that make the products for building, and say, hey, okay, make this line for that building. It'd be a bureaucratic fun, but the housing minister could handle it. Very simple stuff. But I honestly don't see any of this happening. None of this stuff. And to create a secondary market, because we don't want to affect the last generation. Remember, all of our investment money left this country, which was in companies building things and all that, and it went into the stock market and overseas, right? And then because no borders on cash, and so a lot of the money of people like working class is in their homes. That's all we have left. So if that crashes, there's going to be a major problem with people who are like too old to be able to work hard to get out of it. So we can't. I don't think it's a good idea to flood the market, overflood it, and then fix it. What I do believe is if we build small apartments for first-time home buyers, new Canadians and first-time home buyers, so there's a stigma around it. It doesn't matter. It could be Shangri-La, but if there's a little bit of a those are the first-time home buyer homes, Not that it's a bad thing, but people will be like, I want out of here. Even if they move to another property that looks identical to it, it's something in people's heads. But you just created, it's only for first-time home buyers, that building. People will want to get out of it, but they can also get into the market, and it won't affect the regular housing market. But right now, they're helping first-time home buyers who want grass and all this stuff. No, you're fixing a problem. You're not. They shouldn't be making Shangri-La. Don't make Shangri-La is the problem, because it won't fix it fast enough. You got a problem. You build. You fix it. You fix the problem. You don't fix to make it perfect. No, making it perfect is what you do when you don't have a problem. But there's a housing crisis. Build buildings without balconies. No balconies. Why? Because if you don't have a balcony, you'll want one, and you'll get the hell out of that building as soon as possible. And it costs a lot of extra money, that thing. And so it makes a secondary market. They can overbuild those things, and it won't affect the tiny wartime house market. It won't affect it, because that is 10 times better than any apartment. But 10 times better to have an apartment. 1-bedroom apartment than been homeless or living, where you don't want to live, right? Shacking out with multiple people. That's all I got to say about it. I think that they've missed a really good old golden opportunity, but hopefully eventually it will get sorted. But the Conservatives have really found a tough bone with this housing minister today about his investments. And there's nothing ethically wrong with his investments, but what they're trying to do is say, look, he has no incentive to, right? And he's what it is casting dispersions upon him, which is retail politics at its finest. And I'm telling you, I don't envy that guy's job. Like, subscribe, and comment. Have a good day.